Hello, this is Jacob Bolton, Associate Pastor of Christian Formation here at Westminster Presbyterian Church in Alexandria, Virginia. Now, I don't get to often give a Monday morning devotional with all of you the Sunday right after I preach. But this week I did, and I'm going to reflect with you all for a little bit about the service that we just experienced yesterday. I preached, Ben sang, and Patrick prayed, focused on the text from the first letter of John about dark and light. And we pondered for a little bit about what that meant and whether or not and where God is in both the dark and the light of our world. Often we think and we hear things like, come into the light, hide it under a bushel. No, I'm going to let it shine. But of course, God also abides in the dark. God is just as creative, as loving, and as rampantly active in the dark as God is in the light. God is just as beautiful in the dark as God is in the light. And the phenomenon that I want to share with all of you that most exemplifies that, most brings that to fruition, a poetic, natural experience where at least I experienced that quite robustly, quite powerfully, is one that I want us all to imagine together for a little bit. And when I use this example, it will be very clear that I come from a northern state. However, it's an experience that you all were able to experience not too long ago if you live here in the DMV area, because we had some very nice snow this past winter. And whether or not it was from this winter, or if it is from another moment or experience in your life, I want you to imagine with me right now. I want you to imagine night after a snowstorm. So there's snow on the ground. It's thick. It's deep. This isn't some dusting. This is snow. It's on the trees. It's on the bushes. We are well blanketed with snow. But it's calm. And there's no clouds. And it's 10:30. It's winter, so depending on where you live, maybe it's only 5. But it's still dark, right? It's night. But the stars are out. The moon is full. And even though it is dark, it is still very, very light. It's an experience that honestly, after a handful of winters, both here and in New York, I had almost forgotten. Growing up in Michigan, I experienced that for months on end at night. But lately, it's been one of those things where I just wasn't able to really be in that space due to the geographic location in which I live. And I remember taking my dog for a walk this past winter and thinking to myself, I can see better at night than I could during the day. And whether that is light or reflection or illumination or dark or night or light or day, it does not matter. What so matters is that God is present. And though we do not have the right language to, in one word, describe what that meteorological, what that time, what that natural phenomenon actually is, it's not dark and it's not light. It's not day and it's not night. God is there. God has blessed it. God has created it. God has magnified it. And God has created that experience for us to live into fully. The psalmist is right. And God created the sea monsters of the deep just for God to delight in. I wonder how God delights in that unique experience where it's not day and it's not night. And yes, it's winter and there's snow, but it's not dark and it's not light, but God is. I wonder how we can all delight in that. I wonder how moments like that can sort of shift and reimagine and allow ourselves to reimagine where God is in our lives. Whether those are thin places or thin moments or God sightings, the terminology both abounds, but also can confuse. But I can tell you that whether it was nostalgia or whether it was the moment, or whether it was because I had not had an experience like that in so long, whether it was because I was with my dog, that moment this past winter was a holy moment. And it's one that I know that we all can probably call to mind an experience like that. And as we struggle, the lifelong struggle to become as close as we can to God and to define God differently throughout the different moments of our lives, right? It's those experiences that are most profound. Those experiences that are the most memorable, sticky, if you will. And so in response to yesterday's worship service, here's our devotion for the morning. Think about, reflect on, pray with me for those moments where God is there. God is there in moments and in times and in ways that we don't have the language for. And as soon as we try to create the language, God is still there in something new. Because in this season of Easter, as you hear the birds around me and as the pollen wafts around in the air, everything that's within Christ is a new creation. God is continually recreating the world. For those moments where we've experienced God, may they propel us forward to new ones so that we can continue to re-experience God in it. Let's pray together. Let us live together. Let us serve together. Friends of Westminster Presbyterian Church. Much love. Hold fast.